What's up, you guys? It's Jaded. So whenever I'm playing a new game on Steam, I'll often get asked, is that game good? Should I check it out? Is it worth playing? Is it worth my time, looking into? What are your thoughts on it, etc., by various friends. And so I figured, you know what, I should just put together a series of videos whenever I'm checking out a AAA title, an indie title, what have you. If the games are worth playing, I feel like I should highlight it and let you guys know what you're missing out on if you haven't looked into it yet. So over the past few days, I've sat down and played through this game, start to finish, and I don't do that very often. So it really speaks to this game's strengths that it like captivated me to just sit down and play it in almost one sitting. I believe it was somewhere around 10 hours on normal, and that could kind of give you an idea of what to expect. I never felt like the game dragged on too long. I never felt like, it left me hanging or anything like that. It wrapped up nicely. The story is very thought-provoking and always interesting throughout the whole game. And, that's partly due to this world that they've created, this gorgeous, beautiful, it's really a stunning universe that they've created here, where the city's just floating in the sky, and right when the game opens, it's this powerful scenery. You open the doors to this world, and everything's vibrant, everything's saturated. It's this beautiful, clear blue skies and all these great buildings and the whole old-timey setting that they got going on. It's all just very refreshing to play a game like this because, you get fatigued on some of the themes throughout games when you play them. All right, I've seen the futuristic, I've seen the fantasy role-playing style, but this all feels very new, fresh, and that's hard to come across. It's very rare to come across, I would say. And one of the things that this game does really well, at least it surprised me, was they didn't reuse assets in the game very much. At least it wasn't very obvious to me. And I'm always looking for that stuff, I'm always looking at the aesthetic side of things. They have the typography on the posters, and of course that stuff gets reused a little bit, but it's never to the point where it's I've seen that, it's getting old. It's not like that. It's always interesting to come across these storefronts, and they all look a little bit different. And they also really nail the atmosphere in this game. It starts out all bright and shiny, but then it kind of slowly evolves into something else. There's occasionally sort of almost like a horror movie vibe that you get through certain parts of the game, and you kind of feel uncomfortable, or what's going to happen next. So it doesn't always just everything's not always bright and chirpy. Now, one of the most, I would say, impressive things about this game is definitely the companion AI. Elizabeth, this girl you meet early on in the game, and sort of the whole story revolves around her in a way. She has the most incredible AI I've ever come across in a game, where it just really surprised me. She doesn't get in the way. Everyone's played that MMO where they have the escort mission, or that first-person shooter where you got guys around you and they're knocking you around, they're getting in your way, they're blocking you from areas. Yeah, the AI is just you're constantly fighting it. But in this game, they did something really special because they understood that, okay, you're gonna be around this person for the majority of the game, and we need them to be useful. We need them to not get in the way. And something kind of special that they added to her was she kind of has her own mind about things. She kind of has ADD, and if you're just standing in an area, she'll walk around, she'll go check things out. She'll lean against a wall, go sit down, look at stuff. I really appreciated that level of detail. It just added a lot to that character. Now, when it comes to the combat in this game, it's something that you'll be doing throughout the whole game. It's the majority of the gameplay, in fact. There's not a whole lot of puzzle solving or anything like that. You're either scavenging for stuff, money, so you can buy upgrades, or you're shooting dudes and using, your powers. So one thing I want to talk about is all the guns feel really good, but I gravitated towards the hand cannon, which is this, 6-shooter. Every other gun really didn't hold up to the power of this gun, and that kind of hurt the game in a way, because I just wanted ammo for this one gun and I didn't want to use anything else. Occasionally I would use the RPG, occasionally I would use some other stuff, but with that being said, there is a lot to the other aspects of the combat. There is this whole skill system in place, there's the upgrades, and the upgrades really make you want to go explore this world rather than just go A to B. And you get a lot out of exploring in this game, so you'll find money, but you'll also find gear, which is oftentimes hidden in little rooms here and there. And what the gear does is, say for example, you'll find a hat, and you never see the hat, which was kind of disappointing. You never see what you look like, but you'll find a hat that, for example, increases your reload speed, or I don't remember what they all do, but a lot of them have some very unique things to them. So when you drop off a skyhook, you'll do like an explosion or knock enemies back, things like that. So it kind of changes up how you approach combat, and whether you're doing melee or not can be based off of this gear. One element that I wish they pushed a little bit further was the more sneaking side of things. Like, you never really get that full sense of stealth in this game, and that's never like a strong suit of Bioshock or anything like that, but it's strange that they do have one gear in this game that makes you less detectable, but I never found a purpose for it, or I never felt like it was strong so that I could go up and, you know, eliminate dudes before they notice, because it's kind of like Metal Gear Solid in the fact that, you know, you alert one guy and the whole room is known to your presence. So the sneaking side of things could be a little bit better, I feel like. And since I forgot to talk about this when talking about Elizabeth, your follower, your companion, whatever you want to call it, the person you're with throughout the story, is she doesn't actually shoot anything. She doesn't kill anyone. She doesn't like do magic or powers or anything like that. But I completely agree with the way that they went about it. Is she actually helps you in combat by, you know, throwing you a med kit from now and then, or giving you ammo. She doesn't get in your way. She doesn't like kill people for you, and you kind of feel like you're protecting her in a way because, you know, she is kind of defenseless, but you can't be killed. So you never have to feel like you have to babysit her, worry about what she's doing. She's just there helping you out. And hopefully games in the future kind of take notes from this, because it's a really awesome way to do a follower, somebody that you have to play the whole game with, who's AI, you know, like Resident Evil or something like that.
Of the Lord.
Pump it up!
And last thing I should cover is probably the story. People are wondering if it's good. And not being a big story buff, not being a big Bioshock buff, I mean, I played a little bit of the first one, I didn't actually finish it, and I didn't even touch 2 that much, I just saw it get played a little bit. So I don't have like the whole storyline in place, but I will say, you know, it's still deep, it's still enjoyable as someone who just plays Infinite. Like, if you're worried about that, it's still an enjoyable game, and you know, it's very thought-provoking, it's very deep and meaningful. It's not just there to be explosions, it's not a Call of Duty where it's just trying to be bigger and better than the previous one. You know, it's trying to be more than just a thrown-in storyline just to make a third game or to make a sequel. So I really appreciated the story, even though, again, I'm not the biggest story guy in the world. Because of how it was presented, which I think a lot of games fall flat on, is the presentation of the story. Because of that, because, you know, you're invested in this character that you're with, and you know, the story arc that happens from start to finish, and sort of this weird world that you're in that, you know, even your main character is not used to. It all keeps you very glued to the screen to keep playing through it and to see the end of it. So just a really enjoyable experience, and, you know, if you're down for this single player 10-hour game, this is the cream of the crop, in my opinion. There are a couple negatives that I really feel didn't hurt the game super bad in any way, but I feel like they could have been better. You know, if you're gonna play through this game, understand that you're not gonna be able to upgrade everything. That you have to be kind of picky and choosy on that. So, you know, the first gun you get, don't upgrade the pistol if you don't like it. Don't upgrade, you know, a power if you don't like it. Things like that, because you know, you do have a finite amount of money. Another thing that kind of bugged me was, you know, occasionally you come across these scenarios in the storyline where you have to make a decision. For example, you either have to kill someone or you let them live. And I never felt like, with most games that do this, I never felt like in Bioshock Infinite that it had any real big purpose, or never got rewarded for doing one thing or rewarded differently for doing another. At least that's my impression of it. You know, I could go back, I could be completely wrong, I could go back play through it and see, you know, something change drastically, but I never got that impression. And one of the last things that kind of bothered me throughout the game was the game kind of revolves around this sky combat, right? You know, you got these rails that you hook onto with your melee, you know, fist thing. You jump up, you hook on, you fly around, and it should feel like you know, you could use these to your advantage, but the only real way I see it being an advantage in the game as it stands is use it as sort of an evasive or time-buying maneuver, because it's really hard to shoot and aim, and you can't use your powers when you're up there, at least from what I remember. So, you know, it would be great to be able to use those hooks as a way to evade damage, but I never felt like that because the AI was so good at not missing. As with a lot of games, you know, the AI is not great at being human. So you're flying through these skyhooks trying to buy time, but, you know, in the end, you're just wide in the open, and everything can kind of hit you. So those are a few things that I feel the game could improve on. You know, it definitely didn't hinder my experience with the game. I still feel like it's a really solid, well-made game through and through. And as long as you understand that, as long as you understand what you're getting, and if you like single-player games that are, you know, you play through once for 10 hours, I think you won't be disappointed. I think this is, you know, a great experience to be had, whether you played the previous Bioshocks or not. And I definitely recommend it. There's something here, you know, at least worth checking out. So like I said, I may do these occasionally if I come across a game that I really think is worth people's time. I'm not going to go through and rate games because that stuff's kind of ridiculous. It's kind of arbitrary. But if I think a game has value, I'll definitely do something like this in the future. But that's my time, guys. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.
I don't know.